Hello and welcome. This whole guide has been put together by the experts over at My Tax Accountant to finally clear up a huge question for so many businesses in the UK. Who is actually exempt from the construction industry scheme?
So let me ask you this. Have you ever finished a job, sent off your invoice, feeling pretty good about it, and then you check your bank account and a massive chunk of your payment, maybe up to 30%, has just disappeared? It's a huge blow to your cash flow, right?
So the big question is, where did your money go? Well, over the next few minutes, we're going to explain the system behind it all, the Construction Industry Scheme, or CIS. But more importantly, we're going to walk you through how you might be able to get paid in full without those painful deductions.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break it all down for you. We've got 6 sections, starting with the absolute basics, then we'll explore the different ways you can be exempt, and we'll finish up by flagging the biggest mistake people make. Let's get into it. Okay, let's get straight into it. First things first, to figure out how to get out of the scheme, you've got to understand what it actually is. So what even is the construction industry scheme? So at its heart, CIS isn't some extra tax you have to pay. Think of it more like a down payment. It's HMRC's way of collecting tax and national insurance upfront from subcontractors. A contractor takes a slice of your payment and sends it directly to the taxman. It's basically an advance on your end-of-year tax bill. Right? And this is where it gets really, really important for your bank balance. There are 3 different rates, and it all depends on your status. If you're not registered for CIS at all, you get hit with a massive 30% deduction. Ouch. Just by registering, that drops to a more manageable 20%. But the real goal, the holy grail, is getting that 0% rate. That's called gross payment status. So here's the good news. You don't just have to sit back and accept these deductions. There are actually 4 main ways you can get paid without them, meaning you get to keep 100% of your invoice. Let's look at each one. Okay, pathway number 1. This is all about the type of work you're actually doing. Because if your job isn't officially classed as a construction operation, then guess what? CIS doesn't even apply. Simple as that. This is a really key point for professionals like architects and surveyors. If you're just drawing up plans or providing advice, purely consultative work, you're exempt. But the second you step onto that site and start managing things or supervising the actual work, you're in CIS territory. It's the classic design versus do. Here's another one that trips people up all the time. Let's talk heating systems. If you're installing a brand new system from scratch, that's a construction job, and it's inside CIS. But if someone calls you out to fix their existing boiler that's on the brink, that's a repair, and it's totally exempt. See the difference? It's all about new versus existing.
All right, let's put this into a real-life scenario. Meet Chloe. She's a sparky working in London. On Monday, she's on a big job, installing a whole new lighting system in an office block. That's CIS work. But on Tuesday, she gets a call to a flat to sort out some dodgy wiring. That's a repair, so it's outside CIS. It's the exact same skill set, but the job itself dictates the tax treatment.
And there are a bunch of other things that are specifically excluded too. For example, carpet fitting? That's out. Making components in a factory, off-site, that's also out. Even just delivering materials or hiring out a piece of machinery without an operator is exempt. Basically, if it's not part of the hands-on construction on the site, it's probably outside the scheme.
All right, so we've covered the what, but now let's talk about the who. What happens if the work is definitely construction, but the person paying you isn't considered a contractor? This brings us to pathway number 2.
Okay, this is the easiest one to remember. If you're working on a private homeowner's own house, building their extension, fitting their new kitchen, they are not a CIS contractor. They don't need to worry about it, and they should be paying you in full. Now, here's a quick pro tip. This only works for their own home. If that same person is a property developer building a house to sell on, then they absolutely are a contractor.
So what about businesses that aren't in construction? Think of a big supermarket chain building a new store. Normally, they wouldn't be part of CIS, but they can become what's called a deemed contractor if their spending on construction work hits a really important number, £3 million. And that's not all. Here's where a lot of people get caught out. That £3 million threshold isn't for a neat and tidy tax year. No, it's a rolling 12-month total. That means businesses have to keep a constant eye on their spending over the last year. It's a massive admin headache if you're not on top of it. Okay, stay with me, because this next part is a big one. This isn't about being outside the scheme at all. It's about being inside it, but with a special status that is an absolute game changer for your cash flow.
This is what's known as gross payment status. To get it, you have to apply to HMRC, and you've got to pass 3 key tests. There's the business test, which just checks you're a legit construction business. Then there's the compliance test. HMRC basically looks at your records to make sure you've been paying all your tax on time. And finally, there's the turnover test. Now, the turnover test is usually the main hurdle. If you're a sole trader, your construction turnover has to be at least £30,000 a year. And that's after you take out the cost of materials and any VAT. For limited companies or partnerships, the figure's a lot higher. It's basically HMRC's way of making sure only established, stable businesses get this massive cash flow benefit.
Okay, before we start wrapping things up, I have to warn you about the #1 mistake we see people make. This is the biggest trap, and it catches out so many people, even those who've been in the game for years.
Right. Let's bring Chloe the electrician back. Imagine she's at a job doing an exempt repair on some wiring. While she's there, the customer says, "Oh, while you're here, could you just fit a new security light?" That's a small alteration, so it's CIS work. She does both, and to be helpful, she puts it all on one invoice. So, what do you think happens next?
The answer is the dreaded mixed contract rule. HMRC's position is crystal clear. If even one tiny part of an invoice is for CIS work, the entire payment for labor on that invoice is subject to CIS deductions. The whole thing gets dragged in. The way to avoid this is so simple but so important. Always, always create 2 separate invoices. One for the exempt work, one for the CIS work.
Phew! Okay, we've covered a huge amount there. We've talked about the type of work, who's paying you, and how to get that coveted gross payment status. Let's just quickly pull it all together.
So, here are your 4 main pathways to remember. Pathway 1. Is the work itself actually a construction operation? Think repair versus install. Pathway 2. Is the person paying you a contractor? Remember the private homeowner. Pathway 3 is for very specific minor contracts under £1,000. And pathway 4, the big one, can you pass the 3 tests to get gross payment status? Okay, a quick and very important point here. Everything we've talked about today is for general guidance. CIS can get pretty complicated, and the rules might apply differently depending on your exact situation. And because everyone's business is different and getting this right is just so crucial for your cash flow, please don't leave it to chance. It's always best to speak to a professional before making any big decisions. So if you want some personalized advice that's tailored specifically to your business, whether that's about getting gross payment status or just figuring out where you stand, the expert team at My Tax Accountant are the people to talk to. Their details are right here. And hey, if you're the kind of person who likes to read things through, you can find a really detailed article covering everything we've talked about over on the My Tax Accountant blog. And last but not least, if this guide has helped you out, do us a favor and subscribe to the channel. We've got plenty more clear, no-nonsense tax guides coming your way. Thanks for watching.